back to Girl Ascending. So we are now at the final phase of the lunar cycle, which is known as the waning moon phases. So this is following on from the full moon, when the moon starts to lose her light again, lose her reflected light from the sun. And we have the waning gibbous moon, the waning last quarter moon, and then finally the waning crescent moon before we go back into the dark moon, new moon, and the lunar cycle begins again. So the waning moon phases are really all about letting go and release. But whereas with the full moon we had that letting go and release being accompanied by a very celebratory, high energy feel, when we're thinking about the waning moon phases, what we're actually thinking about is more of a healing energy. So we're releasing to heal. So it's really about letting go of anything that has happened during that past month where we feel it doesn't serve us anymore. So this could be people, places, situations, but it can also be that feeling of letting go of limiting beliefs, what's stagnating inside ourselves, what negativity are we still calling into our lives because of the way that we react to situations, or the way that we constantly stick to our patterns that maybe are not serving us any longer. So it's a great time to really dig in and look into those parts of ourselves that maybe make us feel a bit uncomfortable, because obviously change is always uncomfortable, and self-examination is of course always difficult and challenging, because it raises parts of ourselves that perhaps we may want to conceal or not deal with on a regular basis. And this is why the lunar cycles, following them can be so lovely, because when we get to this point of the lunar cycle, the end point with the waning moon phases, we're kind of able to walk through that gently. So we're not trying to do it on just one night, one big burst. So unlike the full moon, which is that one night where we're really, you know, celebrating and releasing, we've got this now as the next few days to kind of release and heal and let go gently. So when we're thinking about the waning gibbous moon, we really want to feel into that energy of letting go and of healing. And this can also be a time where we want to have clarity of vision, where we're really thinking, you know, what have we learnt during this lunar cycle, and we're getting sort of the idea that a new lunar cycle is about to begin. So we really want to have that clarity of vision. And then when we're getting to the waning last quarter, so the light is decreasing even more, this is a time to really embrace and surrender to the process. So we really want to be leaning into those parts of ourselves where, I mean, you know, sometimes toxic is obviously a very popular buzzword at the moment, but sometimes we ourselves are the toxic people in someone else's life, you know. So it really is giving you that opportunity to surrender into the darker parts of yourself in order that you can recognise them and release them. And this is sometimes known as shadow work, which is something that we will touch on in another video at another time. And then we have the waning crescent, and so this is when the light has almost disappeared, barely visible in the sky. And this is the time where we really want to realise that we can't hold on to the past and the present at once. You know, we really need to be able to let go in order to move forward. And this can be quite a challenging concept to wrap your head around. I personally still struggle with it, because our past informs so much of our future, and we're often sort of stuck between those two goalposts really. But it's by living in the present and embracing the present moment that we really can lean into being the best possible version of ourselves. And the present moment is of course our only real reality. The past is memories and the future is unknown, and of course the past informs our present, but this is a time where we really want to condition ourselves and be strict with ourselves to look into the present, so that we can then move into the next phase of the next lunar cycle with a greater understanding of ourselves, of what we want and of how we intend to get it to start with. So when we've been looking through the lunar cycles, it really is very as a cycle would suggest, cyclical, in a circle. So it has a very definite start and end point, but at the same time it also has that infinity idea that it just continues on. So now that we have reached the end point of a lunar cycle and we're moving into the next one, we really want to have that sensation that one builds on another and that it becomes ingrained in who we are, because that is really how it will start to help and focus your life. And we've touched on before how the lunar cycle helps us to really process and unpack our lives in a helpful, slower way. And I would really urge you to do this, especially now that we're at the end of looking at all these different lunar phases, because in doing so, whatever you're going through in your life, however difficult, however challenging, traumatic, if you can take that moment to step back and really lean into whichever phase of the cycle we're in, more often than not, it will provide, even not help, at least some comfort that whatever you're going through at the moment is either a blessing or a lesson. And that can be so difficult for us as humans to process, but it really is true. And so I would really urge you to do that if it is something that you feel would work for you. So thank you so much for joining me at this brief look through the lunar cycles, the lunar phases, and how we can use them, how they affect us. And I look forward to seeing you in another video soon. Thank you very much. Bye.